Nintendo stuff. Separated by cosmic cabinets, Brandon, Paul, and Logan are broadcasting Nintendo stuff live using their telepathic powers. My name's Brandon Miracle, broadcasting from a place that's green. If you look south of me in the video version, you'll see Paul Anderson hanging out with his good friend Captain Falcon. And if you look to the right of me in the video version, you'll see Logan Welliver munching on a banana.
I need the energy. I'm very tired.
Banana.
Potassium.
Okay, so some interesting stuff happened in the last week on this episode 47 of Nintendo Stuff. But before we do that, a quick word from our sponsor. And then the silence.
And then silence.
Hello, silence, my old friend.
So, Nintendo Switch Lite finally revealed to the public after months and months and months of speculation.
About time.
What do you guys think?
It's light.
Well, yeah, it's small. I'm really actually curious about just like how small it is. Like, not like the Nintendo Switch is like huge, but like I feel like I don't really have much of a reference for how it feels in my hands, right? And if that's the selling point, especially if I can't hook it up to my TV, I wanted to know if I can fit it in my pocket.
It took me until last night to finally see a picture of the Switch Lite overlaid with the original Switch to like get that size comparison. I've seen them like side by side, but it's hard to like eyeball that compared to just like here's the Switch Lite on top of a Switch.
Right.
So it's one Joy-Con length shorter than the actual original Switch model, and I think it's actually the same height.
It's a little shorter.
Okay.
Not by much, but a little shorter.
So it's probably not going to fit in your pocket, but it will maybe fit in your bag a little easier. That's funny though, because yesterday I did see a picture yesterday of a guy fitting his entire Nintendo Switch into his cargo shorts pocket.
I've seen it done before. I've seen people just like pocket their Switches. Now I'll have all the space though. I can store an extra Joy-Con. Just one singular Joy-Con next to my Switch Lite.
So some of the things
for that second player randomly out wherever you're at, right?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Joy-Con.
Because the Nintendo Switch Lite, the Joy-Cons, well, they're not Joy-Cons. They're just part of the unit, and they're not detachable. It's like a traditional Nintendo handheld. The form factor is actually pretty similar to the Game Boy Advance if you multiplied its size by 3.
Wow.
On top of that, there's no HD rumble.
Hurts,
and no kickstand. Because they expect you to hold this unit and not set it down. So, with all of that, they dropped the price by about $100. Things to keep in mind is there's no dock. The dock on its own costs $90, and there's no Joy-Cons, which on their own cost $70. So it's up to you to decide whether or not the price cut was enough.
I kind of wanted just a little bit more. I associate $200 with more of like a actual like home console, not necessarily that handheld. So for me, that price point just doesn't speak dedicated handheld. I don't know why, but like if they would have gone like $20 less, that original like 3DS price cut, I would have just instantly been like, oh hey, that's the price point. I'll buy that.
I think it is important to remember that the 3DS launched at $250. Obviously, that was a disaster for them. But I think the Vita did too, didn't it? Which was also a disaster. Yeah. But there's a difference between those two things, and that's that neither of them had Pokemon.
Yes.
I think Pokemon is really the secret sauce to this entire strategy.
With the way that Pokemon game's looking too, like...
Yeah. They were waiting until Pokemon was ready to get this out, and they're getting it out 2 months before the games come out, and I think that's kind of just the perfect timing for that. It also means
that like Pokemon was inherent in the strategy when you see the limited edition Pokemon version of it.
Yeah, for sure.
I see you, Nintendo.
And there's going to be a lot of limited editions of this console, just so you guys know. There's going to be a lot. Oh, okay. This is going to be the 2DS all over again.
Oh, that too.
Yeah, I mean, didn't they already reveal the Pokemon one?
Yeah,
Yep.
Paul just said that.
Oh.
I
Just
don't
how
listen when I
put
talk either.
together I am right now.
Yeah, so I expect a lot of special editions for this system. I expect it's going to sell gangbusters, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Switch Lite outsells and outpaces the current model.
Yeah, that's probably a good bet. This is definitely like this is the version you get for your kids.
Yeah.
I can see like every family, if I was a parent, I'd buy like a Switch for myself, and then I'd get the Switch Lite for my kids. Let them kind of run around and do their own thing with it.
And President Doug Bowser brought up a scenario when he was talking with CNET, saying, I envision a situation where there's one family Switch, the original Switch, and then each kid has a Switch Lite. So like there's the daily driver Switch over at the TV, and then a Switch for each kid. And we've been talking about that strategy since before even rumors of the Switch Mini began, because Nintendo Switch is marketed as a multi-unit per household system.
Yeah,
it already is that way.
For a long time.
Yeah, it's already that way in my house. It's already that way at your place, Paul.
Yep.
And I think it is for you too, Logan, isn't it?
No, we're too poor over here.
Okay.
And, priorities,
You're the only Switch in the house?
Well, I'm not the only Switch, but I have the only Switch in the house.
Okay. Well, I think the point still stands. They're going to fulfill that market to people like Logan, who only has one Switch in their household, by making it cheaper for other folks.
Yeah, $100 is quite the difference. So, I mean, I think that's really the most appealing thing to me is the fact that, it's significantly cheaper and you're going to be able to play literally all the same games. And if you don't care to play on the TV, I mean, that's great. It's perfect.
I think the screen size is a little more than 25% smaller. So not a huge drop. I did read on CNET that some of the games, because they got to go hands-on with it, that some of the games, the text is a little hard to read, which is one of the concerns we had in the early conversations about this thing. I imagine that there will be updates, at least to first-party software, that accommodate this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that the system can just recognize that it's being played on a Lite from the get-go and say, hey, do you want bigger text? And just let you opt into that.
Yeah.
But that said, I think this is a great idea. It's going to sell well. It's multicolored. It's just, we're in good shape as far as Switch Lite goes. One of the things I want to bring up, though, with this conversation is we're hearing more about the Switch Pro and the fact that it doesn't exist.
Yay.
So there's a lot to digest here, and a lot of it comes from The Verge. But basically, since firmware update 5.0 on the Switch, there's been support for 3 hardware lines. One with the original Tegra 210, which is in the Switch, and then 2 for the Tegra 214. One is in the Switch Lite, and the other's in the Switch New. It is surmised at this point that this new processor is just going to be put in the Switch we already have, and it's really not going to be an upgrade that's substantial.
That's marginally disappointing.
The Switch Lite has this new processor in it, and all it does, for the most part, is make the battery run more efficiently, so you get more time out of it. Thoughts?
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, modest upgrades. They've done this before. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be necessarily in the way that they were like, oh, it's the new Nintendo 3DS, because it's, a pretty basic upgrade. But I mean, why not? You're producing a new unit with the new chip, and you might as well throw it in the old one too and start producing it with that.
Just makes me upset that I was an early adopter. This is the life you live when you buy this, Switch day one.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, because I think if you probably added up how many hours I have in all the games that I have, I've probably passed 1,000 hours collectively on my Switch.
Yeah. I think the more frustrating thing of this whole thing is, like Santi says in the chat here, there are some issues with the Nintendo Switch as it stands now. Uh, just from like a physical standpoint, like the Joy-Cons aren't great. Sometimes they break. Specifically, the left ones seem to break a lot. The form factor isn't so great. The Switch is morphing, it's bending, it's cracking. Um, these are the kinds of things that you fix in a Pro model or even in the Switch Lite. I assume all of that has been fixed for the Switch Lite. So where is that for the base Switch, the Switch that can switch? Where is it for that consumer?
I'm assuming that it's still probably coming. It's maybe the time frame got pushed back a little bit more, but I'd still like to believe that they'd still make a beefier model for people. We want it. Consumers want it. Well, some of them do, but
So
yeah, there's
3DS
a
came out in
demand for it.
2010, right?
Yeah.
And then new 3DS came out in 2014. So it was a 4-year gap between the launch of the console and the upgraded version. I don't know if we're gonna. I don't know if I expect that long of a gap again.
Mm-hmm.
I would
sure
hope.
It's probably difficult to try to navigate that though, because you have a slightly more capable, a slightly. Well, I guess the Lite's probably about as capable as just normal Switch. It's just a little smaller, but you have to kind of like with the new 3DS, you had to put like the little better on new 3DS or only for new 3DS.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out like that strategy to make it work a little bit smoother, especially like for parents who don't quite know better.
I anticipate that the games that will come to Switch Pro, if Switch Pro exists and ever happens, I'm pretty sure that they will market them so that they work on every version of the Switch. Because one of the things that they do with the Switch now is dynamic resolution, where the resolution drops based on where you are in the game so that the game can run at, that solid 60 or that solid 30 FPS. And they even do that with like Super Mario Odyssey and games like that. So my expectation is that they will do that for games that will take advantage of the Pro model, and the Pro model will just push out higher resolution and higher frame rates across the board, but the other versions of the system should still be able to play them, just probably at a lower resolution.
Also to get just a bit more storage on that thing, I wouldn't complain.
That seems to be one of the things that the Verge was suggesting with the GPU upgrade, with the Tegra 2, or not the Tegra 2, the Tegra 214. So it says the GPU in the new Switch is clocked at higher values than Switch Lite, potentially giving a modest performance boost. And when they say modest, I'm really expecting like the lowest of the lowest boost. It also says larger than 32 gigabytes memory is possible in the new units.
Not bad.
So they're probably just going to have more internal storage. I wouldn't expect a lot, maybe up to 64. Though,
I mean, 64 is a good starting amount, honestly. Like 32 is maybe a little bit bare bones, but 64 you're able to get a couple games on the console, and then if you want to upgrade, to a bigger micro SD card, you can, and they're getting cheaper still. So by the time like a Pro model would actually come out,
yeah, no, it'll definitely be better going forward in terms of price for that. I do expect. It says they have 2 models found in the firmware, with one of them expecting to have more internal storage. I'm almost expecting it to go up to 128. I don't think 128 would be that much of a price increase.
I mean, these days probably not.
Yeah. And I mean, just from a price standpoint, what would you be willing to pay for a Pro model of the Switch?
Like, that's a good question.
I'd say at this point, like the Switch could probably take a price drop. So I think like you'd knock that down to like maybe 250, and I'd pay $350 for a Switch Pro.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Depending on how much of a storage or GPU boost that the Switch Pro would have, I'd be willing, I think, to go up to 400. But once again, it really depends on like how much of an increase we're looking at.
Yeah.
I think, didn't the new 3DS launch at 180? Which was the 3DS's launch, or not the 3DS's launch price, but the dropped price?
Wasn't that for like the new 3DS XL?
Yeah.
Because I got my new 3DS, like the standard size, for like $100. Thank you, Black Friday.
And I mean, the new 3DS, the standard size didn't even release until like 6 months after the 3DS XL did, because they weren't going to release it at all here.
Right.
Until consumer demand kind of pushed it this way. Yeah, so I could kind of see it maybe launching at 300 and coinciding with a price drop of the standard model and a price drop of the Lite, because you kind of want to keep those. You want to keep that gap large to make the Lite actually valuable.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I see that going. Santi suggests the Switch Pro will probably be a PS4 Pro kind of thing, where every game works across all of them. I think that's
4K.
Man, as much as I want 4K out of a Switch Pro, I don't think that's happening. But please, at least give me HDR. If you're not going to give me 4K, at least give us HDR.
Yeah, maybe some, make VR a little bit better.
That
possible.
Too.
Please.
So something else that happened over the last week was the launch of Dr. Mario World. It actually launched one day ahead of its release schedule. That seems to happen a lot with Switch mobile games, or Nintendo mobile games.
Switch mobile games.
Switch mobile games. And Logan, you have been playing a whole heckin' lot of Dr. Mario World.
Oh yeah, so I think this might be the best like Nintendo mobile game there is. Partially because like the monetization's really light. Like it really doesn't get in the way, and I love that, right? So I don't feel like I can play for a long time without ever having like every time you like fail a puzzle, it'll prompt you and say like, do you want to spend some diamonds to like continue? We're gonna give you some few extra ones to like finish up the thing. And I say no, because I'm like, no, I'll just do it over again.
They're really
But,
like
the whole
targeting the impatient player.
Yeah, so like every time you beat like so you use like you can max out at like 5 hearts. You can get more. There's some ways you can get more like in game, but I digress. But mostly what happens is like you finish a puzzle and they give you a heart back. So you spend a heart to play the puzzle, and then if you beat it, you give a heart back. So if you never fail, you never have to buy any more hearts, right? Which isn't, ideal, but for somebody who plays a lot of puzzle games, and you kind of learn all the tricks and tips, yeah, I fail a lot less until they start getting harder. And here I am just sitting here, just like not breezing through necessarily, but just getting through like a ton without ever having to like actually stop. And then when I do, like, I think it takes like half an hour to regenerate 1 heart. So I just, I put it away, and then I come back later in the day and I have more hearts, and I keep going through it. I counted, I think there are 5 worlds right now. And then once you like, so you can like, even though they're covered, you can just keep scrolling over to see how much there's. So there's 5 worlds. I think there's 40 levels per world. So I think there's like 200 levels currently. They do make it pretty clear that with further updates, there will probably be more content, which is cool because I'm over halfway through, and I'm going to run out pretty soon. The
it's
one
good thing
thing
there's
that I will
versus
have...
multiplayer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that adds a lot of replayability, as I can just, stop playing the stages and I can go compete. I'm not so sure how I feel about that in terms of like the functionality, because I can play really well and then still like lose. And so like coming up with a strategy that actually is like helps me win more often than not is like difficult. So I'm like, wait, why did I lose? I was playing really well, and then all of a sudden I get screwed,
You got to build that meter, man.
Yeah, certainly. The one thing that's a little frustrating to me is, and it's not the worst thing ever, but like, okay, if you get 4,000 coins, you can kind of, you can staff, your doctors, right? So I think after like the first few levels, they have you choose a doctor. So it doesn't have to be Dr. Mario. I chose Bowser because of his his like special ability, which is
Mm.
like it nixes 2 lines like at random. But once you choose that, like that's the doctor you have. You don't have any other doctors. You can get more doctors. You get 4,000 or spend like 40 diamonds to spin the wheel. But then it's, it's random and it's not necessarily even that you're going to get a doctor. They do give you the percentages, like the percentage chance of getting like a doctor or um like assistance. And so far, like I've spun the wheel like, 6 or 7 times, and I've only got assistance. And you can get multiple of them. But the deal with that is if you get like 2 of the same type, it upgrades it, right? So if you get 2, it upgrades that to level 2, which improves like the effect. And then I think after that to get to like level 3, you need like, you know, 2 more. So it kind of bumps up. But I think the idea is that long term, um, you're gonna keep wanting to spin these and you keep wanting to play. And then I imagine once I finish all of these, I'm gonna have to go back and try to like get 3 stars on all of these ones that I got 2 stars and 1 stars on. And that's when like the coin amounts are gonna kind of like slow down, and then that's when it's gonna be really tempting to drop a few bucks here or there, because it doesn't even look like necessarily the amount that you need to spend is a lot until probably later in the process.
I
So
must
I
have
don't
better
think.
luck than you, because the first time I rolled for a staff member, I got a doctor.
Who'd you get?
I got Toad.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Doctor
I've
too.
only gotten assistance, which
Dr.
I'm
Toad.
honestly okay with. It's like I already have a doctor, and honestly, I'd rather get assistance. Though it is frustrating. Like I chose Bowser, and I was kind of expecting like some other, uh, doctors. Like I don't even have Doctor Mario right now, and I was like, I think just for the aesthetic purposes, I want Doctor Mario.
The game
Uh,
like warns you too. It's like you can get Dr. Mario back, but you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to win him.
Yeah, yeah. So, but other than that, like the gameplay is great. Once you figure out that you can kind of like, drag the the pills like through things, it really opens up the gameplay and really kind of develops into the strategy. And then like as you progress, like they throw new elements in, which I think is great. So I don't know how far you are, but they start off with just, okay, here's a few colors, and then they throw in like um, viruses that are kind of in ice, and so they take more matches to destroy that specific virus. And then it like doubles up later on, so you have ones that are like half in a block of ice, which take 2 hits, and then ones that are at a full block of ice, which take 3. Then they also throw in something like they what else do they have? They have ones that have like life rafts that you have to like. They also have 3 lives, but every time you match, they move around the board. So that really throws it around. Like there'll be like times where I'll be getting near the end. I only have like a few capsules left, and like I don't know where they're gonna end up, and it might end up really screwing me down the line. Um, but again, like the fact that they've had like the gameplay evolve as much as it has, and I imagine it still will, here for these next few worlds. Um, I'm impressed. I'm impressed that Nintendo has um kind of cooked up something that's so fun and so playable, while also uh not doing some of the dirtier monetization methods just because they could be earning so much more than they are on this, but I also probably wouldn't be enjoying it and talking about it so glowingly as I am right now.
It hit #1 faster than Harry Potter Wizards Unite.
Huh.
Yeah. But I also, again, like in terms of like revenue, I'm not sure how much potential it has, and so I fear that will affect their decisions down the line,
It
unless
made
they're like okay.
$100,000 in its first 72 hours.
Wow.
Which compared to their other ones, that's like really not a lot. That's like a really low amount. So I guess it really depends on like how happy Nintendo is and how much value they're looking for monetarily, and how much, like, because initially when they were talking about that they were going to start doing these mobile games, is that primarily they wanted to have it as like something that's going to kind of increase brand awareness, and lead people to Nintendo's dedicated hardware
I
and
mean,
the
deep
games
down,
on
is it
that.
about the money or is it about the game?
Well, that's the thing. It's still a business, right? It's still very much a business, and it has investors, and investors are looking for those returns. So, um, kind of
So it's about
having
the
to
players.
balance
You're right.
that. Yeah.
It is the
So,
weakest launch of all of Nintendo's mobile games as far as revenue, but it's second to last in terms of installs.
yeah.
Dragalia Lost made 300,000 installs in the first 3 days, compared to Dr. Mario World's 2 million.
Mhm.
Though I think, just as another revenue stream, I'm assuming at this point they're not worried so much about making money per game. They're just making sure they have a lot of games that make money.
Right. I would assume that, and also Dr. Mario is, it's a puzzle game. It's never been like one of the most popular things. It's got Mario's face on it. And so they probably had their expectations a little bit lower for this. So I wonder if this is kind of in line with what they were expecting.
And I mean, we
The
still
fact
have
that
Mario
people
Kart
spent
on
a
the way
hundred
too.
thousand dollars in the first 3 days like still boggles my mind, because I haven't spent a cent.
And then, like I said, we have Mario Kart coming too, which is going to be another
Mhm.
revenue stream for them.
Yeah, I imagine that Mario Kart will make a lot more money.
Yeah.
It also depends on how they monetize that as well.
So, going back to Nintendo Switch a little bit, Nintendo's Doug Bowser basically said the 3DS isn't dead. Again.
They can say that all they want. I'll
It's dead.
believe it when they stop putting games on it.
Yeah, I get why they keep
Which I think is
saying it, right? Because they still want people to buy the units that are still out there, and if they're still making a few, and they can still have a little bit of revenue and release the occasional like remake, and people
And
still
it's an
buy it.
incredibly cheap value. Like, you're not spending a lot of money for access to an incredible library of games.
Right.
And he said this specifically to The Verge. He says, we'll continue to support our 3DS family of systems as long as there is demand. He's not necessarily saying it's alive. He's just saying that they're not going to abandon it.
It's on life support.
Pretty much.
Still there in your desk, never charged.
The only
whenever you-
people keeping it alive are Nintendo themselves. They're like, it's okay. We still love you, 3DS. Kind of.
There's that one internet Nintendo that still gets excited when he gets Street Pass.
Yep. I do miss Street Pass, though. Bring that to Switch, please.
I'll start charging my 3DS. The next time I come over, we can get Street Passes.
Nice. So, one of the things that we have to look forward to next year, at least in Tokyo, is Super Nintendo World's launch. It's going to officially open during the Tokyo Olympics, but there's also two parks opening in the United States, and one of them just had one of its models leaked online. And boy, does it look great. So it's a to-scale model, and you can basically see every element of the park. And it looks pretty close to the generated, hand-drawn artwork we've seen in the past, or the digital artwork. There's going to be a Yoshi ride that takes you around the kind of Super Mario World-ish area of the Super Nintendo world. Bowser's Castle in the back left corner of the park is where you enter to take part in Mario Kart, probably going to be the premier attraction here. There's a Toadstool Cafe right in the middle of the park. It's a Toad House, but it's a restaurant, which is kind of awesome. Let's see. The Yoshi ride has a name. I'm trying to see it. It's called Yoshi's Adventure.
Aww.
And there's like another forested area to the right. It looks like there might be another ride over there. I just can't tell. Yeah, so like it looks pretty small so far, but it's really cute and, it's dressed up really well.
Mm-hmm.
The few rides that there are pretty cool.
This aesthetic is killer.
Yeah. I absolutely cannot wait to try out the Mario Kart AR ride. Because you're going to be riding on a real track with AR goggles on. That's got to be so cool. So yeah, that's really it so far. There's also a model of what appears to be a Donkey Kong area.
Mm-hmm.
That one looks really cool.
Yeah, so that's where the minecart ride's going to be, as well as, I think, a jungle gym for, like, toddlers.
Aww.
And, I mean, when you look at the picture, they dedicate a ton of space to this Donkey Kong area.
Mm-hmm.
You can see Donkey Kong's treehouse right in the middle there. Looks like Funky Kong's shop in that airplane towards the bottom of the photo. And I can see a barrel in the upper right corner, one of the ones that launches you. I think
that's functional.
I think the Mario Kart ride and the Donkey Kong minecart ride are going to be like the premier attractions here at both ends of the park. And this is just the start of Super Nintendo World. They will be adding other stuff in the future, like Pokemon Land, probably a Legend of Zelda area. It'd be cool if they did like I was gonna say that, yeah, like a Metroid Horror Land or something, like a horror AR ride. That'd be neat.
Give me some Star Fox, some F-Zero. Just go out, all of it, right there. Let's go.
This is just the start. It's gonna keep growing. It seems like the one we're getting in the United States will be the premier location, as compared to the one opening in Tokyo, because I think that one's gonna be a little bit smaller.
Suckers.
It's so backwards, isn't it?
Maybe this is why we never get steelbooks.
Yeah,
because we get the better Nintendo World.
That's the trade-off. They're like, okay, we're not going to give you steelbooks, but we will give you the better amusement park.
And to answer Santi, I think the next franchise they incorporate is probably The Legend of Zelda.
I would imagine so.
Don't know what form it'll take, but I can't wait to see what they come up with. I hope there's like a
cafe, please?
Yeah, cafe. It has to play like the shopkeeper's music from Ocarina of Time. You just walk in, da 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 da. Then there's the guy at the desk, and he's got like 4 options on each side of him.
No, I think The Legend of Zelda should be more horror based, and so they should just have bokoblins and guardians around, just chasing everybody. Like it's just constantly.
A guardian would scare the doo-doo out of me.
You just run away from a guardian.
Oh,
and
man.
it's a real guardian. Like people actually die. They're really going on the realism.
What if they did like a horse ride, where you ride like on an animatronic horse and it has a guardian chasing behind you, and then you wear AR goggles and fire arrows at it? That could be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
Sold.
Santi's saying a Star Fox or Kid Icarus on rail shooter game. Yeah, there's a lot of potential here. I've never been to like a big theme park like this, so Super Nintendo World will probably be my first.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, other than like, Six Flags, and Six Flags has some, themed areas depending on which one you go to.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing of this scale I've ever been to. I've never been to Disney World, never been to Universal, so.
Yeah. So the one opening at Universal Studios Orlando, I think, is scheduled for 2021 or 2022. and I believe the one in Tokyo does not include the Donkey Kong Country Land that is available in the Orlando version. But the Super Mario portion, as far as I know, is pretty much just 1-to-1. So still a lot to look forward to. Then moving on to a little bit of third-party news. I know Logan will be happy about this one. In Taiwan, on the video games rating board, a new Super Monkey Ball game has been rated for Switch, PS4, and PC.
Yes.
And its translated name is Super Monkey Ball Now Good Taste.
I hope that means that it's actually going to be good this time, because we haven't had like a really decent Monkey Ball game in a few years.
Super Monkey Ball, it's good this time. Coming to Nintendo Switch.
Please,
I think it might be good this
put it
time.
on the Switch.
So I've only played Super Monkey Balls 1 and 2, which sounds like the only ones you need to play. And they're great games.
Yeah, really two. I mean, the story in 1 and 2 are fun, but specifically 2 because of all the multiplayer content and stuff.
Yeah, so hopefully that reigns true and we hear about it soon. But the other big third-party news from this week is the announcement of a Netflix Cuphead animated series.
I'm so down with this.
It's called The Cuphead Show, also starring Mugman.
This just feels like it was bound to happen. It was destined to happen. I mean,
it's kind of perfect.
How gorgeous that animation is in the game itself. And I think people are definitely looking for this kind of thing. More better animated shows on just in general, please. Hopefully it also inspires Disney to be like, hey, maybe we should I should say that they've been doing like the Mickey Mouse like shorts and stuff they upload to YouTube, and they kind of got like a throwback feel to them.
They're spectacular.
They're really funny. They're really good. But I think Mickey Mouse still needs more love.
Yeah. The poor mouse he doesn't get any showtime these days. But yeah, I think Cuphead obviously is a phenomenon. It's been a phenomenon since the game came out. So it just makes sense, especially given that it's based off of 1930s animated cartoons, to give it its own 1930s inspired animated cartoon. I just hope it matches the magic and captures the same feeling that the game does. And we should be in for a good show. And I guess I should also bring up that the Cuphead DLC still on the way. It's coming in 2020.
Yay! Man, the devs must be so ecstatic that this is like where they've gotten. Like, I can't imagine the amount of like care and love they actually put into the game, and to think that they're like, oh my gosh, we're getting like an animated series as well. Like, woo!
Yeah, no, things are going super well for them. And that kind of brings us to the end of the news for the week. I've been playing more Super Mario Maker 2. If you guys have been tuning into the channel, I've been streaming on Mondays and Wednesdays, with highlight videos coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Logan has also begun his streaming when he can on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Lots of Super Mario Maker 2 happening over here at the channel. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I really like it.
It's so good.
Man, like it's just so endless. And then I didn't play a lot of the original, but it seems like there's just no shortage of really well designed stages. Even ones that kind of rival some of Nintendo's designs. Hit or miss, certainly. And I think hopefully that they mature over time. But it seems like you have some really, really dedicated people who are really looking to make some really great stages. I had some really pleasant viewers throwing me some viewer stages, and really, really proud of their designs, and open to critiques, which I think is really important, because again, just making more enjoyable stages, especially ones that feel like they were designed by Nintendo themselves. Like that's really like what I'm looking for. I love just really classic feeling stages. And
Yeah,
so
I've received a
keeping up
lot of
everybody.
like the hardcore stuff that, not quite Kaizo level, but just the really difficult stuff that you see streamers playing, because that's what kept the community alive in the first game, and I think they're trying to recapture that again.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of with you. I prefer more of the casual, just cool ideas, well executed, fun courses. Not that hard stages can't be fun. It's just, I'm not equipped for some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Or
Like, if you
like
give me
troll
a course like that,
stages.
there's just a good chance I'm not going to be able to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
I know some creators are proud of the fact that their courses can't be beaten, but I don't think that's the approach you should be designing your courses with.
Yeah. I prefer when I play a stage and I go, oh, like there's like a really interesting design choice that they've made. Like I had one viewer that threw me a stage that was kind of based on Stranger Things. I thought that one
Oh,
was pretty well thought out. Like they used the knight and the Super
the
Mario
upside down.
Bros. Yeah, 3, and you actually went upside down. And again, it had some difficult. I had some difficulties, but like overall, it wasn't like too frustrating, and it took me a few tries to actually finish it. And overall, like yeah, it was thoughtful, it was creative, and I hope people keep making all of these different interesting stages. There was also one that I played that like I think people make some really interesting uses out of like the Switch mechanics in
The switch block?
Super Mario Maker. Like one that had me going like diagonally down and then hitting a switch, which like closed that one and opened up another one where I kind of went through the same area just in a different way. And I kind of had that moment. I'm like, oh, kind of bringing me into like a figure eight, and it was really sweet.
Any standouts for you, Paul?
I haven't had too many chances to play it this last week. I've just kind of been all over the place, but I was playing one that was just I do like a lot of the speedrun courses because I do like those really difficult levels. Um, a lot of those I've noticed tend to use that switch mechanic and like timing your jumps, and
Mm-hmm.
been enjoying myself though with the little bit of time I have had to play.
I think
Yeah,
my
I tried
favorite
playing
thing
one of
to do in
those.
the game so far has been multiplayer versus. I think that's going to take over most of my streams going forward, just because I like playing against other people. Something we couldn't do in the first game, and I think it should be marketed as a premier feature of this one. That said, the
Hmm.
online needs a little work.
I did run into a few stages that were like designed for that multiplayer versus like kind of separated into 4 channels, and it's a little bit of a race, which was disappointing because I wasn't playing multiplayer versus at the time, so it was a lot less satisfying. But I'm glad like that is what has come out of it, is people designing stages with the express intent of kind of people racing through different lanes to get to the end.
One thing I hope they do is there are no courses in the game that require more than one person to be beaten, because you can't upload a course, if you can't beat it by yourself. So I hope
Mm-hmm.
they add a function that allows you to play your course with a second person. And if both of you can beat it, then you can upload it specifically as a co-op course. Because there's no co-op course designs now, because there just can't be. And I feel
Right.
like that's a really missed opportunity in Super Mario Maker 2. So give me a little
Yeah,
bit of
they would
that.
have to definitely filter that out and say like, oh, this course can only be played if you have like 2 people.
That's why I say you have to beat it with 2 people, because then it would force
Right.
that tag onto the course. So that's one of the things I hope for in, whenever that first update comes out. I hope that first update comes out soon, and I hope it's the one that adds multiplayer online with friends. Because Logan, you and I spent a lot of time last weekend playing Super Mario Maker 2 together, and we just had a good time. Lots of laughing and yelling.
And accidentally killing each other.
Yeah. But lots of aha moments, too, when we came across some neat course designs. So, yeah, hoping for a little bit of that. And I think that's about it. We're still waiting for Hero to come out in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. We are in the midst of summertime.
Heck, it's summer, and it's still not here.
Yeah. Hoping it comes soon. And I hate to say it, but the reason I want it to come soon is that just means that Banjo's coming sooner.
Yeah, it's like once we get that, then it's like, okay, where's Banjo?
Yeah. Banjo season.
Next weekend is the final Splatfest. Chaos versus Order. If you want to get in on that Splatfest action, you best compete because it's your last chance. Until Splatoon 3, probably. I think it's the entirety of the weekend rather than just one day. I could be wrong. They're selling Splatfest t-shirts. They're currently available for $30 a piece if you want to rep your team in real life. They're even doing displays in Japan, with the different teams on them, trying to drum up interest in this final Splatfest. I'm pretty sure we're in for a treat with this last one. Every single Shifty station will be available, including a brand new one. And then after the Splatfest ends, every single Shifty station will be added to local multiplayer. Not online multiplayer. It sounds like they're just gone.
Slightly disappointing, but okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a LAN party.
Yeah, we have to LAN party if we want to play on Shifty Station. That's like, 24 new maps, technically, for multiplayer?
Not bad.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So yeah, that's pretty much it going on in the world of Nintendo so far this week. Lots to look forward to, like Hero and the final Splatfest. I assume that we'll start hearing about some new stuff after those things come to pass, because they kind of want to focus on that for right now. And then in a couple weeks, Fire Emblem Three Houses comes out, so there's that to look forward to as well. Which, Paul, you've already preloaded.
Yep. I'm ready for it.
Sitting on that, I'm excited for that to come out. I've also been looking at Clannad on the eShop. It's been staring at me.
It just appeared, and I'm like, oh, I already have it on PC. But when I'm ever going to spend like 70 to 80 hours like working through that game.
Yeah, if I'm ever going to play it, it's going to be in handheld mode on my Switch. But $45 is a lot.
Yup.
Maybe one day.
So I think that's it for Nintendo stuff this week. If you want to help support the show, make sure to like the YouTube video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Rate us on podcast sources. Follow us on Anchor. Favorite our podcast. Lots of ways to support us. If you follow us on Anchor, there's ways to support the podcast directly through there if you want to help us out. Or you can join our Patreon for as little as $1 a month if you want to help support the show. We're getting closer and closer to making this thing a full-time gig. And by closer, I mean we're still really far away, but we're getting closer every day anyway. Yeah, so lots of work to be done there. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at BabbaBabs. Follow Logan at LoggyDoves. Follow Paul at Gunnysaurus. All of those are on the screen if you're watching the YouTube version. You can follow us as a collective at Breakroom Arcade. And if you want to keep up with the conversation, you can join the Discord server. There's a link to that in the description. I'm in there pretty much all the time. Pretty much, literally all the time. If you message, I'm probably there, and I'm probably going to reply. So make sure to do that. We love talking to you guys, love hanging out. We got some new members in there recently, and we love to see that. So make sure to do that. And then, yes, so make sure to go to our Twitch channel, The Breakroom Arcade, on Monday, and watch that stream. Participate in that stream. Send me your viewer courses in Super Mario Maker 2. It is our last stream before we get invited to the Twitch affiliate program. So I'd really appreciate it if you guys showed up for that one and help us reach that milestone. And then from there, we'll be working our way towards partner. Though there is something I should talk about. In the meantime, once we hit affiliate, there is an affiliate clause that we have to abide by, and that's that we cannot stream anything that's streaming to Twitch to another platform within 24 hours of that initial stream. So we can no longer restream to YouTube. So when I stream games, it will be exclusively on Twitch, and you will get highlights over on the YouTube channel, either a week later or a day after. It just depends on how much time we've got. And I might upload the stream VODs just directly to YouTube, too, if you want to watch the whole thing. I'll let you know as we get closer to that. Yeah, I know. Twitch and YouTube, they don't like each other. You can't say you're streaming on Twitch on YouTube, and you can't stream stuff from Twitch to YouTube. I mean, come on, guys. Play along. Play nice. Help us out. Makes being a content creator real hard.
Yup.
So with all that in mind, make sure to favorite the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and we will see you guys next week for episode 48 of Nintendo Stuff. And until then, don't break your backs, break in the games, but for now, break time is over. See you next time.
Woo!